This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the Sony Xperia Z3 Compact. 4.6-inch display, but full-blown flagship specs inside, including a 20.7 megapixel camera with Exmor RS sensor, 2.5 gigahertz Snapdragon quad-core CPU, and really nice-looking phone. I confess I like zingy colors. This is zingy. You don't have to get it in mint green, but it is available. It's a couple of other colors too. Definitely a good-looking phone, and we're going to look at it now. So this is the Sony Xperia Z3 Compact. Important, that word compact. Notice Sony avoids the mini name because what they want to say is we've made the phone smaller without compromising, unlike the Galaxy mini phones. Even the HTC mini phones have usually been cut back in terms of CPU, camera features, that sort of thing. We've seen compacts from Sony before. The Z3 Compact is obviously the latest iteration of that, and it's the companion to the full-size Z3 that's sadly available overseas for us US people. It is soon coming as the Xperia 3V to Verizon, and eventually T-Mobile will get the Z3, but the compact version, no word on that from Sony, and my guess is not, because what Sony does is, if their phone is going to be available on a US carrier, they typically don't release an unlocked version that's compatible with AT&T and T-Mobile bands. Well, in this case, this is an unlocked version. You can pick this one up at there are importers, you know, the usual suspects for those of you who buy import phones, Clove, ATGSM, and others. And there's a variety of vendors on Amazon.com who actually offer it around $525 to $550. And it will work on both AT&T and T-Mobile with 4G LTE. There are two models of the Z3 Compact. So the one you want if you're in the US is the D5803. That covers quite a few LTE bands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 13, 17, 20. So there you go. Sorry, no T-Mobile band 12. They're going to start using that. They're not using that yet. Really, it's pretty hard to find a phone with band 12 on T-Mobile. Anyway, that's a future-looking band. Works fine today. Does a good job. It's a good-looking phone. The idea here is it's supposed to be a good-looking phone. This is just a pared-down 4.6-inch version of the Z3 as a flagship phone. The Z3 has a 5.2-inch display, this one 4.6. The resolution has dropped on this guy to 720p, which is fair at 4.6 inches. I don't think many people really can see the difference between full HD 1080 and 720. The pixel density is 319 ppi. That's very high. Anyway, first let's look around. Obviously, this one is the mint green phone. I really like it. You know, I have to say I like the zingy colors. I like complex zingy colors, not just primary colors, but something interesting like this. It's got a little blue, it's got a little green, it's even got a little bit of yellow going on in there. And there's one that they call orange, which to me looks more like a very warm red, but again, it's kind of a complex color. And for you more staid people, well, there's black and there's white also. So 4 different color options. Unlike the Z3 that has the metal edges that look a lot like the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, this guy goes with nylon on it. And that's not a bad thing. Given that this is glass on the back, glass on the front, makes me a little bit paranoid, even if it is Gorilla Glass. Nylon's a good absorber for impact. And it's kind of a translucent and frosted look, so it gives it a pretty, well, interesting visual look. Once again, the white one's pretty, really pretty looking on the sides. This door right here that's marked says micro SD card slot because, well, that's what is under here. This is a water-resistant and dust-resistant phone. Sony has been a big pioneer of that, and indeed here is micro SD card slot compatible with cards up to 128 gigs in capacity. There is our micro USB port for data transfer and for charging as well. This other interesting little thing right here is for the optional desktop cradle that Sony sells. It's about $35-36 if you get one here in the US, and also for a magnetic charging cable if you wish to use that, for those of you who really just hate taking that door, you know, open all the time to charge it. Not that you're going to be charging this often. One of the really amazing things, 4.55 ounces, the same weight as the Wayfish iPhone 6, but it has a 2600 milliamp battery. That's up there close to the capacity of the Samsung Galaxy S5 that has a 2800 milliamp battery in this teeny little lightweight phone. Really pretty amazing. So the point is, you're not going to have to charge this guy all the time. This is one of the few phones that I found I could get through 2 days of use on a charge. Nice, nice. that really shows up the Samsung Galaxy Alpha, which is a 4.7-inch pseudo-flagship phone that has just an 1860 milliamp battery. Of course, the iPhone 6 has an 1810 milliamp battery, so you get the idea there. Another door not really well marked here is where your nano SIM goes. And yes, well, it takes a nano SIM. Headphone jack up top. It has a water-resistant coating in the jack. That's how it works with these phones that are, well, water-resistant. Microphone hole up there, obviously. On this side, the power button. Sony's been doing the round power button for a while. That's your volume controls. They work just fine. They stick out just a little bit, just enough, in my opinion, to work without being kind of accidentally pressed. And awesomeness here, a dedicated camera button. I like that particularly because I don't have to first unlock the phone, launch the camera app. All you do is press and hold this, wakes up the phone, gets you right into the camera app. So a little bit more like actually using a camera to capture those, well, exciting little moments you might miss otherwise. Little charm holder thingy down there, another microphone hole. And of course the back is beautiful colored glass. NFC symbol right there, because that's where the NFC is on it. Notice Sony G lens. That's their upscale kind of lens that they use on their cameras as well. And indeed it is, well, as camera phones go, a pretty darn good lens. LED flash, very bright. So bright, in fact, that it's not one of those two-tone flashes that can balance colors a little bit, that if you take a picture of your friend who's sitting across the table, not very good lighting, they might look a little bit pale because it's really a very powerful flash. On the good note, in a kind of really dim room, it will actually really illuminate a scene pretty much like a point-and-shoot camera. So good going there. Sony, I suppose, overall, though, we wouldn't mind a two-tone flash. And now for a size lineup. Yes, that's the iPhone 6. Isn't that something? It's that much smaller than the iPhone 6. Not quite as skinny as the iPhone 6, 8.6 millimeters versus 6.9. So, you know, they're both really skinny phones. Here's the Samsung Galaxy Alpha, the 4.7-inch phone, and here's our lovely reflective Samsung Galaxy S5. So you get the idea of the size difference. So for those of you who find the Galaxy S5, which is one of the most compact 5-inch class Android phones, too much to hold, I mean, phones like the LG G3 and the new Moto X are going to be even bigger, then the Sony, well, it obviously has its appeal. Very skinny jeans friendly, very easy on small hands. Yeah. Now to talk a little bit about the Samsung Galaxy Alpha, since it is such a direct competitor and it too just came out, well, obviously it's a little bit bigger, and neither of these is exactly a huge phone. It kind of needs to be bigger because it has that physical home button down here that acts as a fingerprint scanner, so they got to make room for that. Now, this tries to be, in terms of looks, a flagship phone, the Alpha, and it has this nice aluminum frame right here. So it's not bad looking from the sides at all. It falls apart a little bit from the back view because we have the usual traditional Samsung plastic kind of faux pleather stippled back there versus the nice clean glass look. Now, as to which you like better, that's up to you in terms of looks. And if you guys want a smackdown between these two, just give a shout out in the comments and let me know. And now up close and personal, we have the iPhone 6 and the Sony Xperia Z3 compact right here. Obviously the compact is, well, more compact, but not quite as skinny. They're both very nice and classy looking phones. Of course, the iPhone goes with anodized aluminum everywhere. That's our side view. The iPhone has the slimming rounded edges versus the kind of more squared off Sony edges. And the metal back versus the glass back. Obviously, even though people worry about scratching or, oh come on, really, bending their iPhones, yes, it can happen. This is Guy's glass. He's probably the more vulnerable of the two. And now, just for giggles, this is the iPhone 6 Plus in the background and our Sony in the front. Wildly different sizes. Obviously, one of the biggest phablets on the market versus one of the most compact, high-end Android phones you can get. So Sony always has all sorts of names for their display technology. Try Luminous, and we have the X Reality Engine. That's an option you can enable or disable. And when it's enabled, I confess I kind of like it. It gives colors some serious saturation. It's one of those intelligent modes that looks at whether you're playing a video or looking at a photo, and it adjusts contrast, saturation, and brightness a little bit too. And for those of you who are having super AMOLED withdrawal, I think you're going to like that option, and we'll turn it on. So anyway, once we get rid of all the little marketing names, it's a gorgeous display. No, I can't see individual pixels on this. It's sufficiently high pixel density. Colors are lovely. They are very saturated. It's a very bright display. The Z2, and you know, it kind of let us down. It wasn't the brightest phone. This one has 600 nits of brightness. You can see it outdoors. The contrast issues that, and just general washed out off-angle problems and that plagued the Xperia Z1, not here now. good viewing angles, just one of the nicer displays on the market. And you'll have brightness shift as you turn it sideways. That seems to be Sony's thing, but not nearly so bad. When you're using it, you're not going to say, wow, suddenly I can't see the phone because I'm holding it at a funny angle down at my waist to check for emails. And some of you say, why wouldn't you look at your phone head on? Well, because a lot of people do, just yank it from their pocket, hold it down low, trying to be discreet, look at it, put the phone back in the pocket. So viewing angles do count. Gorgeous display, no complaints here. Really lovely for watching movies, and thankfully the battery life is up to it too for watching movies. So what's inside? Pretty much the same thing as in the bigger Z3. Snapdragon 801 quad-core CPU, 2.5 gigahertz. Currently that's the latest, greatest, fastest Snapdragon you can get in a phone, at least until the Galaxy Note 4 ships with the 805 chip inside. Adreno 330 graphics, a little speed boosted from the Snapdragon 801 days. 2 gigs of RAM. The Z3 has 3 gigs of RAM. I'm not really too worried about that. Sony does not lay a whole lot of software on top of this or a heavy custom UI like Samsung and LG are known to do, so 2 gigs perfectly adequate. 16 gigs of internal storage. That's adequate. About a little over 11, say 11.5 gigs, almost free for your use, but with that micro SD card slot, not too much of a disaster. It's Android KitKat 4.4.4, and that means you can install some apps, but not all apps, to an SD card or move them there. It really depends on whether they touch system files. You can put your media files there, your music, your movies. You can also save the photos and videos that you take with the camera to the card, and that works fine. No quirks, no mishaps have happened so far. And it can shoot up to 4K video, so that's a good thing, that you can actually save it to external storage. Other than that, you're looking at the same usual flagship specs: Wi-Fi dual band 802.11 BGNN AC, Bluetooth 4.0 LE, GPS with GLONASS, obviously NFC. We have the little NFC logo back there. The front camera is a 2.2 megapixel that can shoot 1080p video. Micro USB port supports MHL. For those of you who are still fond of using a cable to connect your phone to your TV instead of using Sony's throw it, DLNA, all that sort of thing. We got DLNA support here. Sony has their apps on board, and no surprise, they usually do that. And if you're a Sony person, you'll like that. If you're not, you'll get rid of the shortcuts. Right there, we have the Walkman application, as you can see, and we got the Movies application, and they tie into Sony's pay-for services if you wish to avail yourself of them. They are not pre-installed, the pay-for versions of the services like Music Unlimited and Videos Unlimited, but you can download them. And both of those do support DLNA, and we actually were streaming movies from our home server, no problem doing that. Album is their version of, well, you guessed it, a photo album, and it's actually pretty nice. And then we have PlayStation, which for you PlayStation people is pretty cool. Gives you access to all of your information for your PlayStation account there. And future feature, not enabled yet, you can connect to your PlayStation 4, and you can use this as a remote screen. You'll use it with the Sony DualShock controller, and they're going to have a little mount so you can actually put this on the controller and use this as a second screen, just like with the Vita. So just in case you really want to play, Destiny on a teeny screen instead of your big TV screen, you can, well, do it. And for those of you who have a PlayStation 3, the tens of or hundreds of millions of you, sorry, it's just for PlayStation 4. For those of you who have an Xbox, ooh, well, you get the idea. The software UI here is tasteful and pretty much typical of what Sony's been doing. They haven't changed things a whole lot right here. I have no complaints over it. It's quick, it's fluid. You can set the order, your own custom order. You can go with alphabetical, which is always friendly and easy to use. They have a little inertia scrolling thing going on here so that things don't go flying out of control. Have no fear, it's not that slow. And then they have side swipe. In many applications, whatever it is you can do, you can side swipe to see more stuff. I kind of like that, so you're not always tapping to get the on-screen multifunction / perhaps menu key, often multitasking key there to show you stuff. It's a good way of doing things so you can see your options. And if we go back into, say, Walkman, the music player, so they have some playlist streaming options there if you're a member, and then we have my library, playlists, all that sort of thing. So I think they did a very nice job of handling the UI there. couple of other applications there. They have the AR effect. I don't know, this has one serious nice camera on it, 20.7 megapixels, like I said, Exmor RS sensor, good lens, and then they put their engineering efforts into things like basically dinosaur stickers that you can put on a photograph you've taken. Well, but you can, it's there. Dropbox is preloaded on there as well. Crackle, that's their streaming movie service, not a surprise. AVG antivirus, in case you're afraid of digital kinds of germs. Evernote's preloaded as well. We've got Sony's Track ID here. I think you know what that is. Track ID identifies songs that are playing. Smart Connect, this one's pretty cool, and here it is. When you plug in different devices, you can see car here, headphones, headset, charger. With the charger, by default, there's an option that if you wish, what happens is, say you plug it in at night, and you can set the parameters of what time of day that means, say 11 p.m. to 7 p.m. If you have plugged into the charger and it's between those times, it can automatically go to silent mode and run the clock application, so the alarm clock will still work on it. I kind of wish they would have just straight do not disturb mode that didn't require plopping it on the charger too, especially because, well, it has pretty good battery life. You might actually not need to charge it every night, but there it is. Actions based on what you plug in. That's a Sony thing. And you get Office Suite 7 for your office needs. They have a Sketch app included for those of you who like to, well, finger paint, or you could get a capacitive stylus and use it with this. Given the smallness of the screen size, I'm not so sure if I would. And notice there's also an FM radio there for those of you who are fans of FM radio. There's all sorts of supposedly nice audio enhancements in here, and honestly, through the headphones, it sounds pretty nice. They have their high-res audio feature on this. It will do digital noise canceling, but that requires a particular Sony headset. Overall, audio sounds quite good. Now, the grills up here, the slits, these are stereo front-facing speakers. The volume is reasonably loud, and you'll hear it when we do a video demo and play Asphalt 8. I wouldn't call them muddy, but they're not super, super clear. It's not exactly competing with the HTC One M8, for example, or even I think the Moto G sounds a little bit clearer, and that may have to do with the waterproofing that Sony does and putting that waterproofing membrane over the speakers. I don't know. That's always the supposition with Sony and their not so amazing audio through earpieces and through the grills. Speaking of the earpiece, call quality on this is great. We've been testing this on AT&T's network and T-Mobile's network. Data speed's also quite good. It's got the required bands, and voice quality outgoing is fantastic. Incoming is clear, but the earpiece, again, up there is a little bit lower than average. So usually I don't run it on max. I run it at 1 or 2 drops below max, and on this one I do have to run on max if I'm out in a kind of noisy environment. And you can see a range of speeds that we've gotten right here, from a very congested area to one obviously that has very good data speeds. So working just fine on LTE in the US, even though this is an import and unlocked phone. Which means you can also take this overseas for your world travelers, and you don't have to worry about getting it unlocked. It already is. Just pop in a nano SIM and you're good to go. Verizon and Sprint, that uses CDMA network, a different kind of network technology. This won't work for you unless your carrier comes out with a specific version for that network. Now, one thing about a really crazy compact phone, and literally it's in the name, compact, right, with a very big battery, there's not a lot of room for heat dissipation and cooling, and glass also transfers heat pretty well. So that big battery crammed against the circuit board means that this will get actually very warm to what I would call hot. It's not going to burn the skin off your fingers, but you're going to say, oh, wow, that's hot. If you're doing something like streaming video for 45 minutes, if you're going through a little Mad Men marathon there, it's going to get quite warm over here. If you're playing Asphalt 8 or any other demanding 3D game, you're going to feel the heat. More so, as with this is true of all smartphones, if you plug it into the charger while you're doing those things, because, well, batteries get hot when they charge. So keep that in mind. Also, you'll actually get a warning on this in the camera application. If you go to shoot 4K video, it warns you that if after a while of shooting 4K video, it may get hot and shut down the camera application. That kind of reminds me of Sony's NEX5, the original one. Do you remember that? That was the one that shot awesome 1080p video, but it was such a compact camera for its day that it could only do that for so long before it would get too hot. So how about the camera? The camera is one of the big deals with this phone in general with Sony Xperia cameras. Updated from the Z2, this one can shoot 4K video, and it does a very good job. Now, the UI, if you're a Sony camera person, and they make really good cameras, so you just might be, it's going to seem more familiar. Intelligent auto mode by default, you see the little IA plus right there. That mode steps it down to 8 megapixels, but it's using more data from the sensor actually and trying to improve the image quality, so I'm not going to complain too much about that. Now, if you switch to one of the many other modes, and this is where you can become almost overwhelmed, yeah, you get the idea. So manual, you can set everything that you want on this. We got sound photo, we got face in, put your face in photos and videos using the front camera. Oh boy, we got multicam, we have AR fun, which is the aforementioned put dinosaurs and fires on your photo, 4K video mode, time shifting video, a live to YouTube option right here. So you can stream live to YouTube. That's actually kind of cool. Creative effects, AR effects, background defocus, time shift, everything, you name it, it is there. Or shoot and take it right to Evernote, sweeping panorama. So a lot of modes right there. I think most people are probably just going to leave out auto. That's what people do. You can shoot at 16:9 or 4:3. I happen to like 4:3. It's traditional camera aspect ratio, but if you do set 16:9, it's going to take up the whole area over here. Obviously, you can tap the photo button to take a photo, you can hit the record button to shoot video, or you can use the camera button to shoot, which is kind of nice, and I think avoids some of the camera shake that you get when you go tapping at the screen and the camera kind of goes like that. So try out using that camera button. I have not had problems with stability with this. I know some people have said that they get blurry photos because they don't hold it still, so that might be the remedy. You can control your flash right there, and you can get to even more settings. You got your self timer, your smile shutter, preview, geotagging, where you're going to save the photos to, all that sort of stuff. In the end, it's quite a nice camera. It's quick to take a picture. Not the most exciting picture there, but now this is one I'm pretty impressed at. It was using the flash in a really dim environment right there, and obviously there's a lot of color, almost too much color, but the amount of detail it captured for a dark room without looking all watercolory and nasty, it's quite impressive. And I like the fact that the camera's not shy about using the flash. And there's a picture without the flash. Also really still not bad. The old storefront full of gum, lots of colors there, lots of detail. Good camera. Compared to the iPhone 6, the iPhone 6 does an amazing job despite only being 8 megapixels. So for a lot of these shots, it's closer than you would expect. There it is. Compared to something like the Samsung Galaxy S5 or Alpha, though, way, way better in low light. The bigger sensor, this is a 2.3 sensor size, which is about double the size of your average camera phone sensor and even some point-and-shoots, makes a difference, lets a lot more light on. Also goes up to ISO 12,800. In terms of benchmark scores, it scores pretty much like the HTC One M8, the Samsung Galaxy S5, and the, no surprise, Sony Xperia Z3. Quadrant, 19,489. Antutu, 44,055, one of the highest scores we've seen there. 3D Mark Ice Storm Unlimited, also a very good score, 19,385. The Sun Spider test using Chrome was 918, where lower numbers are better, and well, the iPhone score manages to score in the 300s and 400s, and your average Android phone is somewhere around 1,000. The faster ones are 500 to 600. So 918, obviously Sony wasn't killing themselves over JavaScript engine optimization there. Geekbench 3, 968 for the single core score and 2745 for the multi-core test. So, as you might guess, this is a great phone for gaming. And you could say also the fact that this is a 720p screen, it's not pushing it as many pixels around, means you're going to get even better frame rates in games. So let's check out Asphalt 8 and see for ourselves. And here we are on the Nevada course, and volume is set at 50% on the speakers. A little destructive driving right away is always fun. And the play is really smooth, really good. No complaints there. Nice. Nice. We're going to have a really good run because it's playing so smoothly. So it might be little, but it's a gaming phone for sure. Plays beautifully. So that's Asphalt 8 running on the Sony Xperia Z3 Compact. And then we're going to check out the web browser just so you can see what 4.6 inches is like, in case it's been a little while since you used a phone that size and you're a little worried. And by the way, this is Sony's keyboard. You can customize this. By default, it doesn't have the press and hold for numbers and symbols, but I've turned that on. And overall, it's a fine keyboard. I have no problems with it. You can load any third-party alternative keyboard you want as well. And here's our website, Mobile Tech Review desktop version of the site loading right there. And the screen is sharp enough that you can read that text actually without zooming. Now to be comfortable, you probably do want to zoom in more, which you obviously can do. But it's not going to be the same thing as using a Samsung Galaxy Note 4, obviously, with a very large screen. You're probably going to be doing some more zooming here than normal just because text rendering will be smaller on all but highly mobile optimized sites. So for those of you who visit desktop sites and are concerned, that's what it looks like. And we'll take a quick look at video just so you can see how pretty the screen looks.
Mobile Tech Review, and it's yet another Samsung smartphone, but this one's a little bit different. It's the Samsung Galaxy Alpha. Alpha's supposed to be, you know, top dog.
You have to really bring the volume up.
It's getting there. It's getting there. They have a metal ring around the sides now. No more faux chrome. Makes it look a bit classier.
And we're playing this through the web browser rather than the YouTube app, so sometimes it gets a little bit out of sync until it catches up. But the colors are good, very sharp. It's absolutely lovely. If you're going to use this to watch videos on this, be it Netflix or the included Crackle, anything like that, you're going to enjoy it. So that's the Sony Xperia Z3 Compact. I'm not sure if it's ever going to come to a US carrier. Fortunately, it is available as an unlocked GSM phone, so for T-Mobile and AT&T customers, it's not that expensive a buy as import phones go, around $550, $525 or so, available in places like Amazon, like I said. So if you're looking for a manageable phone that fits in your hand, looks really good, you're not so into the Galaxy Alpha, which would be the direct competitor, or the iPhone 6, it's definitely worth a look. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to visit our website for the full written review and hit that like button.